Welcome to Podaholiks. My name's James Pikeway. This is the gang of three. Mine is two, which means we are going to solve everything that's important in the world. Jenna Burton, Colin Thomas, and James Pikeway. That's it. And we're here. The other two, as we said, I don't know. Glenn's busy playing with containers, and Andrew... You know, this was an interesting one. Well, who knows? This was an interesting one because in the notes for Tech Talk, Andrew brought up that the Apple Watch is 5 years old. And for 5 years, exactly, for 5 years, Andrew's been talking about getting one. In fact, at one point, he was going to have one the next week he came in. 5 years on, he still doesn't own one.
Is Andrew one of these serial procrastinators in life?
I don't know. No, not usually. Usually he's right on stuff. Hey, actually, I had a good one today. This was the best thing that happened today. I got to talk with Colin, so that was pretty cool as well. But I decided my son had this monitor that he used to play Xbox. And of course, he hasn't been here for 2 years. And so this Xbox is sitting here. I don't play games, but it's got the monitor. So I thought, why don't I put this monitor with my computer? And of course, it's an old enough monitor that doesn't have the right cable. So I went on to Amazon and I went and put in that I need this RCA to HDMI cable so I can fit it into my computer. And it comes back and tells me, hey, you have an Amazon credit. So I'm going to get this thing for nothing. I didn't have to pay.
How do you even get Amazon credit? Why?
I don't know. It just said you have credit, and do you want to use your credit towards this purchase? So I said sure, and it comes for $0.
Do you get that when you bought something from overseas and the import duties weren't as much as they expected?
I don't know.
So this happens quite frequently in our world because we buy quite a lot off Amazon. And it's a nice little extra to have, isn't it?
It is. The other thing that I found in this is if you're using Chrome, there is a Chrome add-on that will scour for all the vouchers that are available when you're going to these buying sites. And if you install it, I think it's called Honey, not to be confused with other things, but if you'll see it, and it literally is. And what it does is when you enable it, and say you're shopping on Amazon or I've had it click in when I was doing car rentals. It'll say, hey, you know what? There's a possibility of getting another 5% off. Do you want to take advantage of it? And then it puts all the codes in to your order, and it goes through. And it does it. It only works on the Chrome browser. You need this little add-on, and it's just go into the Chrome store and you can find it.
And it's called Honey.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Actually, let me just look it up here. Yeah, that's what it's called. It is absolutely called that.
Everyone is saying about how business is going to be so severely affected with the coronavirus, but surely online sites are doing exceptionally well. I know we have a daily order from Amazon. In fact, my husband stopped buying water from Carrefour now because he feels like, why not get it from Amazon? I mean, who buys water from Amazon? But yeah, all our Masafi is now coming from an Amazon delivery. I mean, literally, absolutely, you can buy anything from there.
It is amazing, isn't it? We buy, all of our washing powder comes from there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I bought a new yoga mat. Ginger ale. We got ginger ale off Amazon, and I noticed that tonic is nowhere to be found.
Really? Tonic water?
Yeah.
I've got it all. We bought like 5 cases last week and it all arrived. We were just amazed. I've got that, and nobody will ever be able to find another yellow pepper after our last order where Natalie, my wife, got it all a little bit wrong. And next thing you know, we had 19. I don't know why not 20 or 18.
19 yellow peppers?
Yes. So we've been having stuffed peppers with basically everything, which is great until it comes to cornflakes.
A pepper on the side of pepper on the side of pepper.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just finding
it one of those. It's like when you're a child and there's a food that you like, so your grandma buys it for you. And the first time you really enjoy it, the second time, like, wow, grandma really loves me because she's bought me my favourite thing. By the 5th or 6th time, you hate it and you never want to see it ever again. I used to absolutely adore gammon steak. Well, this is when I'm pre-vegetarian days. Gammon steak with a fried egg on top. That was grandma's speciality. And then I remember by the age of 12, I absolutely hated it. I can't go to grandma's and only get gammon steak.
What is that kind of steak? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh my God. Is it steak? Isn't it out of a tin?
Oh, is that what it is?
Gammon. So yeah, gammon steak is just it's a type of ham that is. I think it's the fact that it is unsmoked but salted. I think that's how it is.
Huh.
It was one of those that when you went to really dodgy, like a 50th birthday party or a christening, they would give it with pineapple on top, like a pineapple ring.
Really?
But my grandma, she went off piste and gave it with a fried egg on top. And it was a real specialty.
Wow.
But a non-specialty, if that makes sense.
When did you become a vegetarian? How long's that been going?
Oh, when I was 12, so I'm 34
12?
now. I was 12, yeah. And my, I sometimes get quite embarrassed about being vegetarian because I do think there's an awful lot of vegetarianism that is quite hypocritical. I mean, I'm sat here next to a bag that is made of leather, and my children eat meat. You know, I cook them meat. My got all my animals and things as well. But it was a gradual process where I stopped eating ribs, so where I had to tear something from the bone, stopped eating shellfish. And then one day I was in a restaurant on holiday and there was some lamb. I used to love lamb, and I just said, I'm not eating it. And my mum, she'd mums know things, and she clocked it and she said, we're staying here. We're not leaving this table till you eat the lamb. So we sat there for 2 hours and I refused to eat it. And then when we got back to the UK, she offered me a bribe. I'm not from a wealthy family. We didn't have much money, but she offered me £200.
Wow.
And she offered me a small diamond ring. Anything that she had, she offered it to me in a big package if I would eat some meat. And I said no, which I was quite materialistic as a child. So it really said that I did want to be vegetarian.
Man,
was it taste, Janet, or was it something else that put you off?
So funnily enough, it was just because I started to think too much. I started to think about where our food came from. I've always been an animal lover. I wish that animal products weren't used for anything. I don't really think that we need to in this day and age. And I kind of feel like we all make a big fuss about, we can't eat dogs, we can't eat horses. But I mean, why are they any different to other animals? It's just that we've personalised them and we've put a personality with them. Whereas if we started to domesticate other animals, we'd feel the same way about them. Or you couldn't eat this, you couldn't eat a sheep because, well, obviously, like a lady down the road, she's got a pet sheep. Do you know? I think it's just it's a mindset that we've got ourselves into. And I always said I'd probably eat meat again, but as time's gone on, I really just don't see it happening. And I even bought those bear burgers recently, which are these processed, they're really so meat-like in their taste, the texture, they're moist unlike most previous vegetarian burgers. And funnily enough, I can't eat them. I've got a fridge full of them. I bought loads. I got so excited about it, and it's just too much like meat. It's been so long. It makes me frightened. I feel like I'm eating meat, and it makes me feel just uncomfortable.
I got a friend who's in that same boat. She's also been a vegetarian for more years than I can remember, and they sell that ground beef that's not beef, but it is all plant based. She can't buy it. She says it just looks. She says, I'm a vegetarian. I don't need my vegetarian food to look like meat, she can't buy it. She says it's just too close looking. So that's interesting. That's really interesting.
Well, I mean, I think there's definitely a big push towards veganism, and I wish I was vegan. I think I just find it so awkward for life. I wish I was. But back in the day, there was nothing like if you didn't eat eggplant, you were screwed. And I didn't eat eggplant, so I really struggled with vegetarian meals. And now we are so lucky that if you like the taste of meat, but you want to be vegetarian, you have got these plant-based bean burgers or like the bear burgers. You're really, really fortunate. There's no need to eat meat unless you want to, which is fine.
I couldn't imagine. That's the only. I mean, I like the idea of vegetarianism, but I love my barbecued meat. So it's and I know CO2 gas emissions and all that stuff. You know, the farmed culture of beef. It's just not good for the environment, but I really do like a good steak. I'm looking at Colin. He's going, yeah. In fact,
we have a slightly different scenario because Dylan, my eldest, has got so many scary allergies that we almost look at it in terms of, okay, what is it that we can provide for him that give him as much of a balanced and natural diet as possible when he can't have wheat, shellfish, dairy, and all these kind of issues. And we've got as far as now, well, okay, we've got a diet for him that is working pretty much, and he may well have more allergies that come out of the closet as he gets older. He's 8 now. And so we spend a lot of time and also I was listening to the point you're making, Jenna, about how tastes change and Nana's gammon, etc. The one issue that I'm really struggling with right now is I've been working for the last 3 weeks on trying to find gluten. There's another one he can't have, a gluten-free bread that we went through all of the ones that are available commercially here. I've been all over Dubai just to find gluten-free bread. We have one that he can kind of handle once in a while, but he won't have it as a staple. So I started baking our own, grabbing the bread.
Oh, wow.
The way we went. And I got to the stage of a really great loaf, better than anything that we'd found. And then 3 days ago, he went off that as well.
Oh, man.
And now I'm just like, oh, what can we do? Because he loves bread. And it's one of those things where we're desperately trying to find things where he still gets the same enjoyment from food that he used to have. And he sees his sister able to eat all these things. So I want to get like for like equivalents as much as I can so that he still feels a part of it. And that's a real struggle for us at the moment.
Have you tried Marks and Spencer's gluten-free bread?
No.
You're in for a treat. Your son's in for a right treat.
Festival City.
Who did it better? It's always going to be Marks and Spencer's, isn't it?
Do you know you can get it here?
You definitely can, because I also buy gluten-free bread, and just as a choice, and you definitely can buy it, and it's fantastic. And the biggest one is just as a little selling point is in I think Festival City or the Spring Soup, but probably Festival City is the biggest one, and you definitely.
Sorry, I don't suppose you know if it's wheat-free as well, do you?
Yeah, wheat-free.
Yes.
Check. No,
and you can order it online.
I have the feeling that I might have an emergency booking in that direction at some point.
But be aware, because obviously at the moment there's an awful lot of low stock, isn't there, for different foods, and Dubai does generally quite well at being able to replenish its stock. Because I know in the UK, for instance, I think bread and yeast is one of the things that people are struggling to get hold of. And Dubai's done really well, but I've noticed just recently our stocks are starting to deplete. But respect for making your son a loaf, that's incredible.
Yeah.
You're a better father than I am a mother.
I don't think so somehow. That's as far as it goes. In fact, that came up in the podcast earlier, didn't it, James, that my wife has her head in her hands about anything domestic. If she asks me to do it, I will happily do it. But I just don't think in the right manner to know what needs to be done and therefore do it. So it is just, and I totally get her pain. It is a very valid point. But the dots just don't join up in normal domestic fatherly duties. So no, that one is just not the case, unfortunately.
This is quite funny, and James, obviously you've been here in Dubai for a long time, so you can reiterate this, but there's a lot of friends that have contacted me that believe that men in Dubai are particularly undomesticated, and we're not sure what came first, the chicken or the egg. Is it the fact that they live in Dubai that has made them terrible at housework, always in need of Collins surfaces with We Will Fix It? Or is it the fact that they've just been in Dubai for so long that they've just become so lazy and just useless at doing these things? And probably the same for women as well. I don't think women tend to be very domesticated here. I know one of the things I love about Dubai is the fact that I don't really need to cook so much, and I can hire somebody to help me clean and sort. Yeah. And what's first? Why is it? Like, James, you've been here the longest. What's going on?
Colin, I think I agree with your second part. I think because you have the availability of someone to come in and do your mopping, and someone to come and mow your lawn if you've got grass, or someone to come and wash your car. People just, it's like, hey, you know what? It only cost me, I don't know how many pounds does it actually cost to get someone to come and wash your car? Like 2. And they'll do it, for 10 pounds, they'll do it for a week or a month, or someone coming to clean your house and iron your clothes. I think we just get lazy. I think we honestly get lazy. And I think there's the other part to it when it comes to Colin's world and home repair is when we're back home, we tend to have more basic tools on hand. And we just, whether we've got them from our parents or whether we've got them from, friends as hand-me-down, or you've gone out and bought them yourself. Whereas here, we have some basics, but I think most people just don't bother because they don't own, it's a different place. And hey, you know what? For the warranty and the quality of service, I can just get Colin's team to come and do it. So why do I even need it? So I think we just get lazy. I think that's the honest truth. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm not sure it's necessarily lazy. I think people make decisions on what they want to do with their time here, and you have the ability to have a more enriched life in many perspectives, whereby you can afford and the facilities are available for people to look after those things that you don't really enjoy or want to do in your life here, allowing you to focus on what it is that you do enjoy. And for some people, that is family-based stuff. For some people, it's golf, but it is an enriched life, I think, that we lead here.
You know what? And I think that's the big piece of it, right? We get to make these other choices. So I'm not backing down on what I'm saying, but I can attest from my own lifestyle that when we could go out every weekend, we would be at some privily destination. We would be going to a hotel and hanging out at a pool, and we would never do that when we were back in Canada, or the one overnight kind of thing, head up to Rack and stay at the Hilton or something. We would do that all the time. Like probably once a month, we would do just an overnight deal. You leave early check-in, late checkout, and it would be fantastic. But can you think of anyone who does that back in our home countries? I can't think of anyone who does that. So I kind of look at it and think, maybe it's just part of the Dubai thing that we take on this different lifestyle.
I think as well, people work more here. So in the UK, especially if you have a family, you do tend to do your hours. So more commonly, women work part-time. There's less, whereas here, there are fewer part-time options. And the working week tends to be quite firmly fixed at a 40-hour work week, unless you're in really senior roles where you're expected to work around the clock. And especially if you're working down somewhere in London. But, NHS is, I think, the biggest employer in the UK, and that is a 40-hour work week. In Dubai, you don't start to get any of the benefits, the added benefits, the sick pay, annual leave, sort of the end of service gratuity, unless you're working at least 48 hours. And that doesn't include the lunch break that you might take in the middle of the day. Yeah. So the hours are longer. Plus, you do have maybe a bit more support for childcare, but you want to see your children at the end of the day. So it just means that your day just gets that bit narrower. So then to have time to think, right, okay, let's cook a nice meal, or let's get the mop and bucket out. It's going to be very late in the day, and most people just don't have the energy or the inclination when the services are just so reasonable here anyway. Yeah.
I know that we do our cleaning routine now. Today's my cleaning day. And, we've got...
Do you not have a cleaner, James?
No.
Are you one of the few people in Dubai that doesn't have a cleaner?
Well, typically we did have a lady who would come and do some ironing for us. We had one of those services, but they're not coming right now because of transport and whatever. So we're doing it ourselves. And man, I gotta say, there's parts of my house that I never use, right? But we still wash the floor in those rooms and those things. And how are my floors so dirty? Like, I look around and they look clean, but when I get the mop and bucket out, I am constantly amazed at the color of that water. It is unbelievable. And I'm just using your basic everyday Clorox, 3 times better. I don't know what they're rating it against, but 3 times better at killing germs than I don't know what, but but I'm just surprised.
Water alone, probably.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm just surprised, and but I agree. It's a good hour by the time I vacuum and then clean this stuff and clean the surfaces and run the mop over everything. And I'm really kind of, because I see the color of that water, I change that mop bucket water 5 times. Every different room, I'm changing the water. And I remember we had a lady who used to come and do a mopping for us, and I actually mentioned to her, I said, you use more soap. I don't mind. Just change the water frequently, because you look at the color and you go, no, I'm just taking the dirty water water over stuff. Gross.
And there's something quite satisfying about doing that. I mean, I'm joking, and I'm not a domestic goddess by any stretch. And Colin, I'm so glad that you guys exist, because my husband is definitely not like a handy guy around the house either. But yet we have the option of a weekend of having somebody on my days off to help cleaning and things. And I purposely don't like to have it, because I like the normality of emptying the dishwasher, doing a bit of cleaning, tidying up after the boys' toys. Like I quite like just the normality of that, having a sort out of the cupboards. And sometimes you kind of want to do it yourself. So yeah, I love the fact that when I'm really busy and I need help, it's fantastic that it's there. But yet I would rather work harder of a weekend, but just do those things myself and kind of get that. Yeah, I feel like I've played a part in the household.
Yeah, it's a good one, that. Ours is odd. Natalie knows if she puts some technology in my hand, then there's a good chance it will get used. So I grabbed 2 new Dyson Vacs, these cordless numbers, the other day. There's this crazy deal on Amazon that came up, and I spotted they were US spec. But I'm such a geek, I knew that the transformers that come with them will automatically work here. So they were marked up at what I thought was less than half the normal price. So I thought, why grab one when you could grab 2? So
of course,
well, it's logical, you see, because it's way too much effort to actually change over the spout from the long one, which you use for the floor, to the upholstery one. So it's a no-brainer, isn't it? And they only last for an hour each, so that's way too short. So on that basis, I've now got both of them on the wall. We grabbed the right one at the moment, and I will, of my own accord, grab one and actually hoover away. I'm very happy with it.
What color did you get?
I got a V11, so they come in kind of purple, which I must say is my favourite colour for some bizarre reason, and red as well.
Nice.
So I got two matching ones, and then past the previous generation that we had is now with my mother-in-law, bless her. So she's blown away, because she still had one of the very earliest Dysons that weighs an absolute ton. So she's very happy with her cast off.
Well,
I still find it a revelation that Dyson comes in any other colour than grey and yellow, because I thought they were the only standard colours.
It is crazy, isn't it? But one of the things I love about that original Dyson model is, did you know when they were selling them and they used to go into stores in the UK, they used to throw them down the escalators to basically make the point that they were 10 times tougher than anything else out there. And, apparently they survived it, which is kind of useful to know, because in our household, there's every chance it's going down the staircase if we go in the wrong mood.
I'm still using my old Sanyo from 2002, but a friend of mine has got one of these new models that you've got, Colin, and she said, look, I'm going to pass you on my old Dyson, which is 2 years old. So I'm going to be in the Dyson family eventually when I can get out of my house to go and pick it up.
Don't get rid of the Sanyo. You know that's going to keep going. The Dyson, literally the number of spares and the number of rebuilds I did of the previous generation is quite laughable. I have literally bits. Mind you, I can take a Dyson apart and put it back together in a record time. I kind of had it down to basically a Formula One pit stop by the time we'd had them for a couple of years. But that is one of the issues. And we constantly talk about this, James, which is the quality of old stuff versus modern. Different world.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because, sorry, go on, James.
No, go jump in.
Well, you probably know an awful lot more about this than I do, James, but as an uneducated person, is this because they're trying to get new things out so quickly that they don't put the time in trying to make the quality, and it's about just putting it into production and getting the money in?
Yeah. I don't know. I think, what do you think, Colin? I mean, you play around with a lot of this stuff.
Cost reduction. That's what I think. I think now it's all about margin, and especially with advanced plastics and a lot of production from non-traditional locations suggests that I think they go for trying to get it just as cheap as they possibly can for both price point and margin.
And I guess they don't want us to fix stuff, so they don't make it easy to fix. A lot of the casings are just, that you can't get in at it, and it's not like the good old days. That's for sure, where you could go and get stuff fixed, and you have those things that would just last forever. You think of some of those old refrigerators that are knocking around in the UK that have never had any work done to it. It's the oldest fridge you've ever seen, and it's still working perfectly. And then you think of some of the refrigerators we've had here, and you've gone through you're on your third or fourth model, and it's you kind of going, well, what changed? And I guess it's build quality for sure.
Exactly. My dad has a freezer, or had a freezer, that was 35 years old when he threw it out. Actually, he didn't throw it out. He sold it after 35 years, and he only got rid of it because it got very noisy. So just because he's a bit of a tinkerer as well, after he got the new one, he took a look at the old one, and basically the main compressor was just rotating on its housing. So he tightened it up. It was as quiet as day one. He gave it to the guy fixed. Unbelievable. 20 quid. And it was this huge thing. My entire childhood was spent with that.
Well, my mother-in-law still has her original chest freezer. I think it's a 10-foot long thing, and just runs like crazy. It's like there's no issue. It's like it's a work surface in the kitchen, and when you have to get into it, you lift everything up, and otherwise you just work on top of it, and there you go. Those are good days.
But I guess also there's a lot of fashion involved in these things now as well. Whereas before you just go and pick a fridge. I would imagine you pick a fridge and it'd be and it would last for years. Now people do try and go for a particular colour fridge or a style fridge, and it will only last for as long as the room is decorated in that style, or they move house. People move, especially in Dubai. How often do people move house here? It's really quite easy to move from rental to rental. Change suburb based on schooling. And yes, I do wonder whether as well they're kind of made to be replaceable and to just last for a much shorter amount of time.
Yeah. No, for sure. Well, the Dyson's a good example. You've got the purple one, you've got the pink one, and you buy it for color. And then, I'm tired of this color. I'm now going to buy this other one, and I'm going to get rid of this one. And who would have ever thought? It's like a vacuum's a vacuum. No.
It is a bit boring doing the rebuild like 3 times in 6 months. And but saying that, it's a lot more reliable with my mother-in-law than it ever was with us. And for that, the only potential scenario is Rolo, our dog. His hair clogs up absolutely anything. And on that basis, I blame him. It's definitely his fault.
Hey, don't you be using Rolo as a scapegoat, poor Rolo.
Jenna, how much dog hair do you have at your place? Because you've got 2 dogs.
And 2 cats.
And 2 cats. You've got a full kennel.
We've got a zoo, a little zoo. And James, my husband, has told me that I'm absolutely not allowed to make any more unilateral decisions on accumulating animals or lives. I tried to come home with a tortoise not long ago, and I'm dying for a little pig. I love a pig. And anyway, he said no. He said it's an automatic grounds for divorce if I come home with any more animals.
I think you'd be jailed here if you got that anyway, wouldn't you?
What was that?
You'd be jailed here if you got one of those, I think.
A pig, yeah, probably. Those are more my dreams. In the UK, we went to, there's a farm down the road from us. It's a beautiful cafe attached to this farm. It's always so busy because all the food's so fresh, and the produce is just gorgeous. And they have a little shop attached. And anyway, you can always go outside and pet the pigs afterwards, or feed the pigs. And you see them from little tiny piglets when they grow. And I honestly, in my naivety, I didn't realise that the bacon that they're selling in the cafe was the pigs. And then I found out you could buy one of these pigs. So I was like, James, we're going to have to save a pig. Let's save a pig. And he was like, Jenna, that is automatic grounds for divorce. If you come home with a pig, he said, that is it. You are out. You and the pig are going out and staying in a hotel. So anyway, I've not lived my dreams having a pig yet. But with regards to fur and hair, yeah, it's a daily maintenance job. It's unbelievable. And even cars, we have to go for cars. I've got leather seats. We cannot have fabric because we've got a rescue dog who's like a Saluki mix, and she actually has got lots of hair but doesn't shed. But we've got a small pug, and she sheds like there's just no tomorrow. She has to sit on a seat for 1 minute and there's hair everywhere. Really? So it's always leather furnishings, sadly, which again goes back to the hypocriticism on being vegetarian. So or something that is wipeable or smooth surface, which is a shame because I think sofas are lovely, carpets are really nice, but we just don't tend to have them because of the animals. Because I'm also a bit of a clean freak, so I like it. The dogs get bathed every week, which they say don't bath them every week. Yeah, they say don't bath them every week. Tuesday today, it's bath day. They say don't bath dogs every week. It gets rid of the natural oils. They get bathed every week, and they're constantly being brushed. They get sprayed with doggy cologne. I'm really quite funny about looking after them, but it maintains the hair a little bit. That's it, just a little bit.
You give Bath and Rollo every week there, Colin?
No, it has to be much more frequent than that, on the basis that he actually doesn't shed. Well, he doesn't shed, but he digs like you wouldn't believe, huge holes, and it's actually the amount of sand and leaves and just detritus that comes with him that is the problem with the vacuum. His best friend is a cat, and called Roland, after his first kill, which is a long story. And the two of them basically, they do everything that both species do. So they do chasing around the garden like dogs would do when they've got the zoomies. They go through all the bushes like the cats would do. And it's basically a constant battle of who's got like the natural benefit of whatever they're doing at that particular time. But then he just comes in, shakes, and deposits it wherever it's laid. So normally, I've got to say, it's not doggy perfume and all that kind of thing. It's just a straight up hose job in our household. But it's every couple of days that he's getting hosed down yet again with a for goodness sake.
Oh, hey, Florence,
there
you talking
there we
about
go.
it.
Well,
I've got to go and wake up my children now because it is past their nap. But I know people can't hear this, but Florence has decided to say quick. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go. Look at that cutie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can hear that, but that's my monitor telling me that my children are awake.
They're awake. They're wondering where you are. That's it.
Yeah. So I will love you and I will leave you.
Excellent. Bye,
Take
Jenna.
care.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh man, that's pretty cool. You know, we're animal free right now, which is kind of funny. We were looking at getting a rescue dog, and that's when the whole COVID thing broke out. So we weren't able to actually get down to JLT and take a look and see if we matched up. So we're hoping.
As you know, we went through 6 months or so between when Bailey passed and Rolo came. Your house feels really different, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's empty. It's So now we're trying to figure out. We've kind of there's a terrier that we're thinking, oh, could be nice. We haven't met them, and there's a lab that someone's got that's a little bit older that has come back, and they said, just needs a home. And I'm going, boy, man, that lab would shed like anything, but boy, it looks like a fun dog. So I don't know. We've always had Wheaton Terriers, and we've had a couple of
awesome.
we've had a rescue dog here before, but we'd had Wheaton Terriers that didn't shed, and they were crazy. So I don't know. We were actually thinking maybe we'll get another Wheaton, and then we had a long talk about it and thought, why would we bring another dog here when there's so many dogs to adopt? And let's see where we go. So who knows? We might be lab owners before too long. And
it's fantastic.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It really is. I wish that we were able to adopt ourselves. And as you know, we do a lot of work with Canine over the years as a company.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, with Dylan's allergies, we had to be pretty specific. In fact, we got the most hypoallergenic dog breed that's pretty much available, and a hell of a lot of research went into it. But also, it's one of those where when you're in the situation of limited options, and you'll basically go for whatever's best for your family, won't you?
That's why we love the Wheaton Terriers with the hypoallergenic. They don't shed, they don't, and just our last one, just both of them that we've had, just this temperament that was spectacular right up to their last days. When our dog was real 14-year-olds, he was just old, and he was just a really old dog, and we had some children over, young children who were jumping on him, and he just let them jump until he let out one bark, and they kind of backed up. up, and it was just like, enough. but and they said, oh, is he going to snap at them? I said, that would be really unlikely. I mean, he's never snapped at anyone in his life, so he'll just let out a bark and he'd walk away. But it was, we remember our first one when when the boys were we had our baby. He was a baby. I think he was weeks old, and he was on the bed. Maybe it was a couple months old, but he was on the bed with the Wheaton, and he's pulling at his ears. And the Wheaton clearly was not happy to have his ears pulled at. And when I was sitting there and I saw him, the Wheaton was going to get up, and then he realized if he got up, the baby fell off the bed. So he sat back down and he let the kid pull on his ears, and then the baby for a minute rolled over and stopped pulling, and that dog was gone. He bolted. but he wouldn't. But I thought, what a great dog that he totally sensed.
Smart dog.
Yeah. And, and he liked having the kids around, but he thought, so we always loved having that breed. But it's a tough one, isn't it?
We had Bailey when both kids were born. Bailey was there, and he was incredible as well, but probably not as smart as your Wheatons, because whenever the kids would either pull his ear or pull his tail, he used to think that he'd hurt them. Oh, so he'd give them a big lick just to make sure they were okay. And then so the kids thought, oh, he likes this, and off they carry on until we saved Bailey from them. It was really unfair, but beautiful to see, because again, just the sign of the temperament of your dog around young children, which is always a bit of a worry.
Yeah.
It gave us real confidence that we didn't have anything to worry about, as we never ever did with Bailey.
Oh man! So I'm hoping we can get this pet soon, but who knows? What have you got planned for the rest of the day? You're still at work.
Still at work. So we're at 3:30 now. So interesting time. So we have moved over 2 hours ago, I guess. As an essential service, we do actually have 24-hour access to things. But at 2 o'clock, we need to move over from a non-essential to essential work. So this whole transition happens in the afternoon. From scheduled work to emergencies. And the nightmare with emergencies is you never quite know what's coming through the door. Yeah. So it all gets a little bit kind of fraught in the last hour and a half, where we watch really closely what's going on. We slightly scare ourselves with whether or not we have the necessary spare parts. And it all gets a little bit more anguished over this period until about 5 o'clock, where at that stage we've kind of got things back under control, and we can finish off the rest of the day. So just keeping an eye on that, really. It's mainly the guys upstairs, if I'm honest, all the operational guys upstairs. We've got 20 odd people who are currently there looking after all that kind of stuff, and I sit downstairs, and if somebody walks through my door, I know that there's probably a big problem that we're going to have to deal with. But Dan's in as well today, the only day right now actually that we're in the office together. So luckily he is the one fielding all that kind of stuff, which means I get to do the fun things like talk to you guys.
Well, there you go. Maybe it's time then we called the group of 5, which is down now to the group of 2, and we said it's been a good one, and we'll catch up next week, Colin.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, hey, I'm going to say goodbye, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
See you soon. Bye for now.
You have been listening to the Gang of 5, which was the Gang of 3, coming to you from Podaholiks. It was Colin Thomas, Jenna Burton, and myself, James Pikeway. We'll be doing it all again real soon. You never know what you're going to get in the Gang of 5. It's always a lot of fun. Talk to you soon. And by the way, if you want to get in touch with us, podaholiks@gmail.com. Find us across the socials. However you're listening to us, give us a rating. Send some comments our way. We'd love to hear from you. This is Podaholiks.